This is James Richardson from the Agricultural and Food Policy Center. I'm going to talk a little bit today about Crop Margin Protection Plan. This is a brand new crop insurance program that is introduced by RMA particularly for rice. That's what I'm going to talk about. It's also available for selected counties for corn and wheat. The coverage is the margin. It's the difference between the expected revenue and your cost of production, so the difference between those. Expected revenue minus expected operating costs. The coverage can be bought in 70 to 90% range of that margin with 5% increments. The premium calculator that RMA provides is listed here on this slide, themarginprotection.com. and that will calculate what the premium would be for your farm situation. Looking here at slide 2, I want to remind everyone that USA Rice's Crop Insurance Task Force worked very closely with RMA over a 6-year period to fix the revenue protection plan that was out there for rice farmers, and the USA Rice was pivotal in development of this margin protection product for rice. Originally, the proposal was for the margin to be total revenue minus all costs of production. And since only a few of the costs of production really changed during the growing season, the producers were able to get this changed to be the 5 most relevant input costs. This is just a diagram of how we might think of what a margin is. It's total revenue minus a variable cost for 5 inputs. The total revenue is in green, national price times the county yield. So this is an area coverage. It's not on your farm, but it's an area coverage. And then subtracting from that, the costs are the diesel fuel, price of urea, the price of DAP, price of potash, all multiplied by a half year's interest costs. This is a diagram of what the national season average price risk looks like for 2016. $11 to about $15.50 with an average somewhere around $13.60. Now I'm using Colorado County rice yields in Texas, and this is the county yields that would be used in calculating the total revenue. This is a historical probability distribution of risk on yields there. See, we've got a lot of yields that don't fall below 70 for the county average, and then we've only had 1 or 2 observations that get into the 90 hundredweight per acre. This is the cost of production probability distribution, or the risk about fuel, fertilizer, and interest costs from year to year changes. So we see some change over time, and it could get really high. Remember the years when we had the very high fertilizer prices. That's what causes those. So this margin insurance that I'm going to analyze and talk to you about is the difference between total revenue probability risk and the cost of production risk. So it's this risk on the left-hand side of this chart showing the margin. Now, if you were to insure, the margin is stated for the county ahead of time based on costs and prices that RMA observes pre-planting. If you insured at 90% of that, we would have the coverage level right about here. So if the margin fell less than that because of higher costs of production or lower revenue, so if we've come over here and have a high production cost and or we have a low revenue causing this margin to fall below your insured level at 90%, then you would get the difference on that. These are the dates when prices are determined for setting the base period for your insurance, your margin insurance, and the ending period. If we look at the sale date ending in February 28th, rice price would be determined. It's already being determined right now, January 15th through February 14th. The diesel prices, interest, and fertilizer prices for the base period that sets the margin were set between December 15th and January 14th. The final revenue and costs are based on prices and after normal purchases and sales at harvest. So they're looking at rice price August 1st to August 31st, and diesel in April, June, fertilizer in April, June, DAP in March, April, and interest September 1 to September 30th. The indemnity, I want to point out in this slide, is that indemnity is paid next April. And so for the 2016 crop, it would be paid in April of 2017. Looking at this is just an indication for Colorado, Wharton, and Matagorda counties, what the county yields, expected revenue announced by RMA based on their expectation of what that formula would be. Cost of production for those is for the 5 inputs. Remember, it's only 5 inputs. $418.96 an acre. The margin then is $471.31 in Colorado, $513 in Wharton, and $413 in Matagorda. And insurance could be purchased at 70, 75, 80, 85, and 90%. I'll give you an example here. If we look at the premium and a credit for 70%, it'd be $4 minus a 98-cent credit, so $302 an acre for that level of insurance. Now I want to look at this slide that has a projection of outlook of costs of production for the 5 ingredients that make up this margin cost insurance. If we see the projection by FAPRI of the price projections for 2016, we're looking at a decrease in the price of potash, fuel, and nitrogen. The only ingredient out of the 5 that's likely to go up this year, this production year, between December now and September, will be interest expenses. Now I want to tell you that I did a simulation analysis, drew 500 random draws of prices and yield to estimate this revenue distribution. I drew 500 costs of production from this distribution and estimated 500 margins here for each of the 3 counties we mentioned before. And I looked at it under the assumption of buying insurance at the 70, 75, 80, 85, 90% level. Now, because our costs of production are not expected to go up very much this production season, I went back and tested 5 alternative costs of production. So that's what's shown on this slide here, the 5 cost of production increases I assumed, to find out where you would be better off buying insurance than not if you expected the cost of production to go up 10% between now and September, or 20%, or 30, or 40%. We'll look here at Colorado County. Okay, what I've got here are the average indemnities for various assumed increases in costs, and these are net indemnities, so it's indemnity minus the cost of the premium. If we start here in the base situation of no change in cost of production at the 70% coverage level, our expected indemnity is minus $2.45. If we had a 20% increase in our cost of production this year, the net expected indemnity would be $2.23 at that. If costs went completely out of hand and went up 40%, the expected indemnity would be $14.60. Now, if we look at the next slide for Colorado County, we'll see the probability that the net indemnity is positive. If there's no increase in the cost of production, we're going to see about a 2 to 4% chance of having an indemnity that is greater than the premium at 0 increase in cost of production this year, in my assumption. If we had a 10% increase across the board in those input costs, we'd see at the 90% level a 6% chance of positive net indemnity. We get out here to the 40%. If costs went completely out of line this year, went up 40%, the net indemnity would be 41% probability that it would be greater, the indemnity would be greater than the premium. If we look at the next slide here in Matagorda County, we get very similar results of what we had for the previous Colorado County, and we can move on from there. The probabilities of receiving a positive net indemnity is the next slide here from Matagorda County. It ranges from 3 to 6% under the zero change in cost of production. If we assumed a 10%, it would go from 6% up to 12%. Let's move now to Wharton County. Wharton County, the average expected net indemnity at the 70% level is minus $2.03. So it's just slightly less than what the premium is. If costs got out of line 40%, you'd have net indemnity on the average of $23.32 an acre. Now, what are the probabilities of collecting a net indemnity that's positive? Under the no increase in cost of production assumption, it'd be about 2% at the 70% level and 5% at the 90% level. Okay, if we looked at a 20% increase in cost of production this year, at the 90% level, you've got a 25% chance that the net indemnity would be positive. If we summarize this, we would say that this year it's probably a low probability of receiving a positive net indemnity on this margin insurance in these three counties. In years to come, this margin insurance may be a tool to use for your risk management. Certainly it's new to us. We're going to have to observe it a couple of years and see how it works out. I want to also make a note here on this next slide that AFPC's 2016 Yield and Revenue Insurance Decision Aid is available. It's on our website today. You can go to www.decisionaid.afpc.tamu.edu. It will analyze all possible yield and RP revenue protection options, and it analyzes it for all possible yield exclusion options, which greatly expands the number of options that we have. Our website looks like this at www.afpc.tamu.edu, and if you just click on the Crop Insurance Decision Aid, it'll take you to our Decision Aid. If you have any questions on this, you can contact me at this phone number or email me directly. Thank you.